Calamy, how did it start your journey of learning English language?
That is good question, Aaron. And if I take you away back to my journey of learning English language, it was like a journey with ups and downs. And this journey began when I was very, very tiny. I went to elementary school, and that elementary school helped me quite a lot and profoundly helped in my language. And I said numerous times, if I didn't go to that school, I wouldn't have learned the language, and it gave me a huge hand, with learning the process of the language. And that's what I found in that school. I found English environment where practicing the language was very, very important. And the one thing that ultimately led me to learn the language was there was a competition between boys and girls. We used to sit in the class, set of boys and set of girls, and this competition used to happen every Thursday and Saturday. And then I was a different and special in the class is because I knew this language quite a lot, but as most of the classmates, they consider myself that part of English, even though my English at that point was kind of broken, but I got a support that came from the classmates wherever you know, used to stand up and say, I have a question to the direction of, girls. Sometimes I would see bunch of my classmates starting to clap for me, and that was a huge inspiration for me. And I kept looking for a different expressions of vocabulary in my dictionary. And I came to a point where I felt that without cell phone, this is not gonna be something massive. So you have to have a cell phone. Then I asked my mom numerous times, Mom, this is the right time that you have to buy a new cell phone for me. Then she just said, No, this is not the right time because you're still younger and I'm not gonna buy it for you. That's what she said. But that it didn't stop from me the passion that I had for the language. I kept asking her a couple of times, and eventually she just, bought a beautiful cell phone for me. And that was when my journey of the language gets intensified because I got a source of learning the language. I start watch a lot of videos about the English language, and I start to develop the language a bit higher until I found myself a level that I can speak the language. So if I encapsulate around my journey of the learning the language, it was kind of journey with ups and downs.
What was the obstacles that you were faced while you were on the journey?
Aaron, that is another really important question. And if I approach the kind of obstacles that I face last couple of years that I've been learning the language, there was a bunch of obstacles. But if I bring up one of them, I would say environment. I've been struggling last couple of years getting a suitable environment to my practice because all of us we do understand that without having English environment, it gets harder to memorize the kind of expressions of vocabulary that you learned. So I would choose one of the hardest obstacles that I face. Still, I'm facing it because I never ever having to move to the UK or English environment. So I would say probably the environment, not having a partner or person that you can make a practice with him. So that's the massive it is of and it had an effect on me last couple of years, and still it have impacts on me.
Calamy, that is interesting. Calamy, is there any challenge that you are not yet overcome?
That's an interesting, Aaron, any kind of obstacle that you haven't yet overcome. I will probably say environment, like I said earlier, it because I've been struggling quite a lot that here in Somalia. I'm currently in Somalia where most of people use the local language, and it's very, very, very rare to see people who use the English language. And that's why my spoken language has been facing devastating because the lack of empowerment. And all of us, we understand the fact of the a language cannot be learned without this empowerment. I personally do not believe that idea itself, but half of it I believe it. So I wish I had to move to UK or English environment place. So that's absolutely my yet obstacle that I'm still struggling is the environment.
Lastly, what would it be your recommendation to those who are starting learning it now?
And that is very, very relevant question to our subject today, Aaron. And if I just approach the kind of recommendation that I do have those who start in the learning the language, I have a lot of recommendation. But if I choose 2 or 4 of those recommendation, I would say before you start in the learning the language, make sure that you love in the language. I sat down and saw a lot of people, those who start learning the language, and when they learning the language, quite a lot, they found themselves is like feeling fatigued and disappointed, and they ultimately ended up quitting and giving up the language. And instead of doing that kind of giving up at the end of the day, I want you, if you want to learn the language, make sure are you studying the language with something that out of you motivate you. And this, it all comes down around intrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation basically means that feeling enthusiastic inside your heart, and no one is not gonna pushing you to start learning this thing except yourself. Yourself wanted to get to know exactly something about this language. If your answer yes, I can get intrinsic motivation, I'm saying to you, go for it. That's good for you, go for it. But if it is like extrinsic motivation, and which is basically is something, might be your environment, it might be something else, have an impact on you. Like your father said to you, I do have a job, but this job it depended on knowing English language, and then you started because of that, job your father promised you. You started to learn the language. I would say this is not gonna work. This is not definitely uh it's not gonna work the way that you thought. It's totally different. So I would say before you start to learn the language, make sure that you do have intrinsic motivation. That's what I would say.